Good evening, YouTube family. Hello, we're back again. Of course, you know that I am Milton Yarbrough, and this is my lovely wife, Marla Yarbrough. And we're back this week. Just want to tell you all to make sure you hit that and click on that down arrow on the right-hand side for a medical disclaimer. Because, of course, these are our point of views and things that we've been through and go through. So, just want to get right to it tonight. I got a question about my sites and about how I go about doing my dialysis. And so, of course, there are quite a few ways that you can do it. I started out with the catheter in my chest, because when I found out that I had I found out that I had renal failure, I had to get a catheter placed in my chest so they could immediately start the dialysis on me. And so while that was happening, I also had a fistula placed in my arm. Oh, you probably can't see it. Yeah.
Yeah, you can like that.
I had a fistula placed in my arm here. And so while that was developing, I had to use the catheter in my chest.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was a process. And then once I got the fistula going, I started using this in my arm here. And then that clotted off on me. Yeah, that clotted off on me. And so that's why you see the long scar here. It's because they had to go in and do a lot of different stuff. It was pretty bad.
They actually went in this site twice.
Right. Yeah.
Because when he first had this one put in, the first fistula that he had put in, it didn't develop. Mm-hmm. And it was not that long. It was just a few inches long.
Yeah.
The doctor that did the surgery on that didn't want the scar to be so long. He thought it would have a good thrill. It's a vibration that you feel when you know that it's working really well. Mm-hmm. Didn't have a good thrill, and it didn't come to surface. And when I mean come to surface, is when it gets really big. It may look like a worm or a snake underneath your skin because it gets really fat. That's when your fistula begins to develop. Mm-hmm. But his first one that was really small never really developed. So it didn't develop. He had to go in again, the doctor.
Tie
that one up. And
tie off small veins. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that it could flow. So that, the blood could flow through it or whatever it had to do. So, but then all of a sudden, this one clotted off on me. So that's why this scar is so long. Because they had to go in, cut me open, and my fistula actually clotted off on me. So that got really dangerous. That could have did some damage to me.
So let them know what happened. Remember the run when we did with it? And I went to go cannulate. You cannulate him. I was going to put the needles in. And how the power shut off.
Oh yeah, go ahead, tell that
story. I can't tell it all. He'll have to tell his story because it's amazing.
It was amazing. So that night, we were going to get ready to do my run, and for some reason, I was just having all these different issues. Well, of course, it was my fistula was clotting off, and we didn't know at the time what was going on. But for some reason, I couldn't get the needles in. I was just having all kind of issues that day. And then all of a sudden,
I was coming home.
My wife was coming home. And so as she was getting ready to come through the door, I told her all of a sudden the power on the machine just went out. Mm-hmm. The plug that the machine was in, that's the only outlet that went out in the basement. It was crazy because it's a certain outlet that my machine has to go into, for my machine to run. And that outlet was the only outlet in the basement. The power just shut off.
It blew a fuse.
It blew a fuse. And Probably because I think that was God looking out. Because of the simple fact that I was constantly trying. I was constantly trying to get those needles in, and if we would have kept trying, I could have really did some damage. And so all of a sudden, the machine just went out, and no one can explain it. Not the electrician. We had to call the electrician out and everything. He just said, "Hey, it's just."
When he says does some damage, this is the damage that would be done.
Yeah.
He wouldn't be here to tell it.
Yeah.
Because that clot was so large that dropped down in his arm. And if he would have been able to cannulate his arm and push that clot somewhere, it would have been a bad ending to it. But since the whole outlet blew out, he wasn't able to do his run. Yeah. And he was having a hard time even getting the needles in. So by the time we got to the doctor's office, they were so happy that he couldn't even get the needles in because this could have went another way.
Right. And that was something because I called my nurse. I told her everything that happened. So she said, well, you know what, Milt? She said, well, I'm going to go ahead and call your surgeon and see if he can get you in. And just so happened I called that day. My surgeon was supposed to be going on vacation. And he had another emergency surgery that happened that very exact day. And so he just so happened to be at the hospital. So he had me come in. So after he finished his surgery, he had me come in, do a quick ultrasound. And then that's when he found out that there was a blood clot and I had to have an emergency surgery that day. I mean, immediately he rushed me in and they had to go in. I was in there for like 4 or 5 hours. Oh, man, it was something. And so that's how I ended up with this long scar. And so it went from here to here. Now it's up in my upper part of my arm here. I don't know if you all can see it.
I'm sure they can. It's underneath.
But it's right here now. And so this is where I cannulate myself, and this is where I dialyze from. And so this is my third site that I've had to use. And that's where I do my dialysis. So I guess for the person that wanted to know, just always really take care of your sites. Make sure you don't lift, because I know she's going to get on me about that.
I'm not saying
but make sure you don't lift over 20 pounds or 30 pounds. They say 30. They say 30. They say 30.
No,
They say 30 with this arm. But you just have to be really careful. I'm normally really careful with this arm because I don't want to go through what I went through with this first fistula, and that wasn't good at all. That was terrible, actually. So you got to really just really take care of yourself. Take care of your arm. Make sure you're not doing things you're not supposed to, like lift over 30 pounds. Just don't do strenuous stuff with it. You know, you just got to really, 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 really take care of that arm. And keep your sites clean. You really have to keep it clean. And so that's kind of what happened with that. That's where, you know, I just kind of wanted to show you guys where I do my dialysis from. And it's been a journey. It's been a journey, but we've come through it. And I think that's it. I don't know.
So he went from not cannulating himself to cannulating himself. Yeah. He told me, he made a promise to me. Yeah. He said, listen, I will help you as much as I possibly can, honey, with this dialysis. But one thing I would never, ever, ever be able to do is put the needles in my arm. And I said, okay, fine. And the reason why he decided to learn, I guess, is because he didn't want me to be burned out.
Right.
Because I do work full time, as well as take care of our household and ministry and other things. And I thought he made a decision to help me out. So he was brave enough with the help of Nurse Lisa.
Yes.
That kind of surprised me with it.
Yeah.
How did you do that?
Yeah. Well, Lisa, because, you know, like I said, because Marla, I didn't want her to be overwhelmed with all of this because it is a lot. You know, you have to learn a lot. You know, you're not only learning the machine, but you're learning about all the different alarms, and it's just a lot to learn. It's not simple at all.
No.
So I just thought, I said, man, I can't have my wife, she's working all day, but then now she has to come home and continue. So I wanted to really take this thing on. And so like I did tell her, I said, honey, I'm going to learn as much as I can. I'm going to learn how to set up the machine. I'm going to learn how to do everything. All I'm going to need you to do is put those needles in me, because I do not want to do that.
So he really should be nice to me because I put the needles in. I'm gonna leave that right there.
But Nurse Lisa, so she said, well, Milton, she said, you said you wanted to take this on, and I really truly believe that you can do it.
Mm-hmm.
And so Marla had to go back to work. And so she was able to train with us for about a week or so.
Well, I just had surgery while I was training.
She had just had surgery and everything. And then she had to end up going back to work because she was off. That's why she was off and was able to train with me. So it kind of worked itself out. She was off work at the same time, and we were able to train. But then she had to go back to work. And so I still had a couple weeks of training left. And so since I was going every day, that's when Lisa kind of talked me into it and gave me the courage to try it. I didn't want to.
Go, Lisa.
But I did. And I seen that I could do it, and it wasn't that bad. And so now I'm cannulating myself.
Mm-hmm.
So actually my wife, she's really there more for the support and just to help me tape up and stuff. But I try to do mostly everything on my own. But she's like mainly there, like if I need her to come down, and like if something is going on with the alarms or something like that, she helps me, she assists me, but she knows everything. So that's what makes it, pretty cool, because if I'm not feeling well or something like that, she can actually do everything. But for the most part, I try to do everything. So when she comes home, all she has to do is kind of just help me tape myself up once I put the needles and stuff in, and then I'm off and rolling. And so I think it really helps. It allows her to, with me being home, that's the beautiful thing about doing this at home, is because she can continue to do some things that she needs to do around the house with my daughter, whatever the case may be.
And he can't run by himself.
Right, I can't run by myself.
He's putting the needles in now.
Mm-hmm.
He's starting to put the needles in, but he should not be here by himself.
Right,
as long as I'm in the house.
Right, as long as
we
she's
have
in
to
the
make
house.
sure that we have an understanding about that, because anything can happen.
Right.
So I have to be around. I have to be around when he's putting the needles in, because I have to assist him, because where the location is for his fistula, can't do it on his own. There's things that the way he has to tape it off to have security for his needles. I have to take the needles out after every run, because we were together as a team at the end. I take the needles out because there's different steps in the process for him to come off of dialysis, and we have to do that together. He cannot come off of the machine by himself. So we have to work together.
Yeah, and it's good because it's a tag team effort, and we work good together. Like, we told you guys last week we had some issues a few times, but
so I'm gonna tell y'all something, right? YouTube family. So one day, it was another day like that. We've had a few days like that, but he got to a point where his blood pressure got really low, I believe, right, honey?
Yeah.
So while I was about to take him off of the machine, I don't know if it was take him off or we was doing something in between, but he began to panic. Once again, he started to panic. And I thought he was about to pass out. But while he was passing out, he was halfway crying, passing out, and hollering at the same time. So I thought, okay, do I let him go out for a minute? Then I give him some saline and bring him back. So he was fainting and hollering at the same time. Now, where do they do that at? He was passing out and hollering. So I thought, I'm going to let him stay out for a couple of minutes. Then I give him some saline and bring him back. But I didn't do it.
See, this is why I might have to go back to the center.
He was hollering and fainting at the same time. Man. So I thought, okay, I'm going to let you stay out a couple of minutes. Then I'll give you some saline and I'll bring you back.
Oh, man. but like I said, but it worked itself out.
Yeah, right.
She didn't let me go all the way out. She brought me back. She brought me back.
A couple of minutes and give them some saline. Let them faint for a couple of minutes and then bring them back.
She didn't let me go all the way out. She brought me back. But that's it. That's it. I'm gonna get out of here now because she's telling too much. She's telling too much.
You have to be real with the people.
But that's what it is, y'all. You know, that's where I run my dialysis from. So I use a fistula. Some people have peritoneal. I couldn't do that because I've had so many different scars.
So much scar tissue.
Yeah, a lot of scar tissue
From
past surgeries. I've had small bowel obstruction. I've had hernia surgeries. I've had the kidney transplant. So just I couldn't go that route. So, you know, I chose the fistula, which has worked out well for me, although I had that blood clot. But the second one has really been working really well. So just trying to take care of that arm and just do what I got to do so I can maintain it. And that's because this is my lifeline. So I got to do what I got to do to keep it going. So. All right. We're going to get out of here. Or she say something else.
I'm not saying a word.
But we want to thank you all. We love you all. Please like, subscribe, and share. Like I say, our mission is to uplift, to educate, and to encourage. We just want someone to just get something out of this. And if it helps them in any kind of way, that's our goal. And we just want to say thank you. Thank you for watching, and we love you all. And good night.
Good night.